this is such a big career of choice for so many of us. We love this industry because it's the characters, it's the connection, it's what brings people together, it's the conversations, it's the constant innovation, which surprises me all the time.
Hey everybody, it is Dani Valent here for Dirty Linen. I am really excited about this conversation because I'm excited about all the conversations I have on this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for caring about food. It's something we all engage with every day. I know that I go to bed thinking about what I'm going to have for breakfast. And then after breakfast, I'm wondering about lunch. Lunch leads to dinner, and then the cycle starts all over again. The one thing I love about food is that you never stop learning. There is always more to engage with. And I never find it hard to encounter people who are similarly obsessed with food and unlocking the puzzle of getting it into venues, getting it onto plates, thrilling people with the flavour combinations, and of course, beautiful hospitality. Today, we are going to dig into all that stuff, particularly the machinations of running a great venue. Our guest today is Hayley Illing. She runs Hayley in Hospitality. She is a consultant with over 20 years of global experience and certainly some unexpected destinations in amongst that. Hayley, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you to Dirty Linen.
Dani, thank you so much for having me on. I'm a huge fan and I really appreciate you making the time.
Well, I am grateful to you for making the time. Tell us a bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I've spent like 20 years in hospitality in the industry, working across, I guess, various roles in London, Papua New Guinea, Sydney, Melbourne, and I'm now based in Perth. And due to all those experiences, decided that, due to some ways of just the things that fell into my lap, I guess, a little bit too, decided to launch my own business here in Perth as a consultant.
And so what does that mean, you're a consultant? What do consultants do?
So I did a bit of reflecting on this because I think a bit ahead of this question. So look, I launched this 2 years ago after I moved from Melbourne to Perth. I was transitioning out of a GM role and two wonderful owners asked me to continue supporting work with them remotely as a consultant. I guess, Hayley in Hospitality was born, like I said, out of a series of events, but I consult on everything from people management, because obviously being in managerial positions, systems, processes in venues, how to make them more succinct, to training, supporting on good ways to recruit and keep good people, team development, a little bit of business strategy, and talking to people and venue managers in industry and just working through some of the challenges.
Well, I mean, I think this is the reason I wanted to chat to you at this moment in, I suppose, hospitalities. It's always a bit of a roller coaster. There are always ups and downs in the industry. But tell me what moment you think we're in now.
Oh my God, that's such a good question. And I feel like this is going to probably lead on to why I took up some of my resilience coaching as well. But there's a few things going on, that a lot of venue owners are talking about. I guess let's start with some of the challenges around the visa, which I know I've been a little bit vocal recently online about. I think it's an ongoing challenge we're facing, the visa situation here at the moment. It just continues to contribute to skills shortage across the industry. I think my view, don't want to speak for everybody, but the current working holiday visa model, I think, isn't delivering what we need long term. I think while it plays a role, which is awesome, it doesn't adequately kind of support the sustained development of skilled talent, especially when it comes to our middle management, senior management roles. I think we're so fortunate to have incredible talent moving here from, I guess, Italy, France, Europe, parts of the world. And these individuals are so eager to build long-term careers in hospitality. And I wonder if there's just a better way we could support to retain that. And then there's another arm to that, which, hospitality is, I just don't know if it's consistently promoted here in Australia as a long-term career path. And I think that's one part. And then the other part is the current, I guess, culture challenges. I think, we had a massive shift coming out of COVID. I was a big part in running venues during that period. The current culture shift in our industry feels in many ways like a transition from old school hospitality mindset, which I know well because I've lived it and I'm in my 40s, toward a more considered, people-focused approach. So while we progress while progress is being made, I think we're just not completely out of the woods in that. And I think it's going to take all of us, leaders, operators, and our teams, just to play a part in committing to do better when it comes to taking care of our people.
Wow, Hayley.
That was a lot, sorry.
No, it's so good. And, as you're speaking, I feel like these big topics, so visa, the place of hospitality in Australian society, and hospitality culture, these are so intertwined as big topics. And I feel like none of them can really be solved without the other. If hospitality isn't a good place to work, then it's not going to be seen as a good place to work. And, parents will not be encouraging their kids to think of it as a serious career. And if there aren't those professionals who, may well be coming from other places where hospitality is more valued as a viable long-term career, then where are the good examples for these people? And where is that energy, intention, skill, experience in those businesses? I think let's talk more about visas because it is such a massive issue. So tell me where I go wrong, but as I understand it, people can have a working holiday visa for 2 years. They need to move on from each business after 6 months, and they need to include 90 days in the regions as part of that visa. So is that the basic structure of the working holiday visa?
That is the basic structure. And look, I definitely don't want to, I'm still learning all the time. I mean, I learned about a new visa last week. So, I'm in a current role where I'm supporting a larger group at the moment in like a people development space. So I'm still learning myself, but yes, that is correct. And I think one of the things that I was discussing and highlighted a couple of weeks ago was the fact that, again, we onboard these great people into our businesses. We spend time to recruit and train. We have customer expectations that, we need to fill. I think that's another part to this, that our customers don't always realize what's going on behind the scenes. And so we're training these great people, and then obviously they're on a rotation. So we have this kind of like revolving door that we can't sustain great people. And in all honesty, Dani, I've had really challenging conversations in the past week to discuss visa status with certain employees who are just the most incredible, awesome people who want to be here and stay. And there's just a really difficult pathway to get them to continue on. They need to have, all these millions of years of experience in this and that. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it's hard to document all of that. It's difficult. You think about people, especially like in Italy, they're so passionate, but they move around, and this is what it's all about. We bring our experiences right in industry from our travel, and so it's just hard to get all that information down on paper and then go through a series of process to be granted to stay longer.
Yeah, it's absolute anguish. And I feel at this point in the conversation, it's worth mentioning sponsored workers who, as comes up time to time in the media and has certainly been an ongoing topic on this podcast, they are, depending... they can almost be held hostage by their employer because their visa is tied to their workplace. So if they end up in a dodgy workplace, they are so vulnerable to exploitation, and that possibility of exploitation almost seems baked into the structure of the visa. So it's something I've banged on about in various forums over the years, but it's an issue. I think with a working holiday visa, something that's also come up from time to time on this podcast and elsewhere is the the vulnerability of workers that are going into the regions, perhaps doing farm work or other work in the regions, and those conditions can sometimes be less than ideal. But I think something else we should mention is that restaurant managers are not on the priority skills list, which means that you can't bring someone in from overseas. That there's been a post-COVID or during COVID skills drain out of the industry with a lot of workers who weren't able to stay here, again, because of, government levers. And then therefore, if you've been in a restaurant over the past couple of years and just felt like the wheels were falling off a little bit, then that may well be because there's no experienced restaurant manager on deck. They're not able to impart skills and train and just provide a workplace that feels safe, not necessarily in a cultural sense, but just in the sense that everything is in hand and someone knows what's going on. So I think the visa structure also doesn't help the industry there.
It's like what you've just described as like the full circle moment, right? Like I said, it's like this cycle that we're in. And I think, again, like with, I guess, part of what I'm trying to do is a lot of what you just described is why I went into a little bit more of like that resilience coaching culture piece as well, to have these discussions and give people the confidence and tools in some of these roles, because as you said, we've got a skill shortage at that level. So we also need to really support those managers that maybe don't have all the experience and all the tools in order to fulfill their roles. So that's kind of where that piece came from as well. I think from a resilience, and I speak to people some people talk about, we shouldn't need to train in resilience, but actually we really do. We have a sensitive workforce from everything that's happened previously. We have day-to-day challenges that we need to, battle, not just with our teams, but again with customers. I mean, that's all part of hospitality, and it's I love the industry, but I think that was just some of that framework around that has helped me add support and to kind of add a supportive workforce with the businesses that I work with.
Yeah, amazing. So I just mentioned to anyone who doesn't want to hear things about mental health today, then perhaps skip over this. But Hayley, I'd love you to talk about becoming a certified resilience first aid responder. It's a government recognised qualification. I would love you to talk more about what that is, what the training involves, and what the hope is when you go out into workforces with this qualification. Yeah,
so I guess this started back in a couple of years ago for me. Someone gave me the opportunity to take this course, a wonderful person, and it was really rewarding for me, because obviously running your own business, is also isolating and uncertainty and pressure. So what I realised is by doing that course, for me, it gave me the tools to kind of, I guess, do better in my own business, for my own well-being, my morning walks and those kind of things that helped me. And I think I decided then more recently just to take that further and become a certified coach. So just in the intention of integrating this into like my hospitality consulting, because I think at its core, it's such a people-first industry, and well-being just matters. It matters so much. So the course is trained. I trained in a framework, and it's grounded in like the neuroscience and like evidence-based research. So the model is built around like 6 key pillars that support sustainable like well-being and performance. So their vision, composure, tenacity, which I think we need a lot, reasoning, health, of course, and collaboration, which is huge, of something that we need to, working in teams. And then each pillar is backed by kind of like scientific study in how we like emotional regulation and behavioral psychology, and just offering practical, like research-driven tools to strengthen like mental fitness, navigate pressure. So basically, when I'm in meetings with teams or I'm in one-to-ones, we just talk about how the week has gone. Like what was the week past? What's the week looking like? What are the surprises we might be concerned about from any level, even if it's around exactly what we've spoken about earlier, team members moving on. Has someone now got to go work in regional? Can we get enough people to fill those spaces? How does that make you feel? And can we work on, just reducing a little bit of the pressure cooker, basically?
I mean, what's an example? I mean, you've sort of started with the example, but go further, what difference might that make to a person who's in a workplace who's, feeling pretty stressed?
Yeah, I think talking about the fact that it's okay to not have all the answers instantly. I think hospitality in particular runs in quite a fast-paced manner. So I feel like, everybody, we're just always on the go. So there's this sense of urgency a lot, I think, in our industry, which again sometimes is required because obviously we're running busy floors. But as managers and leaders and middle management, I think what I'm trying to say is that it's okay to take a moment. Composure, one of those tools is, how to just step out a little bit, take a breath. It's okay. It's okay to take a pause, have a bit of reflection and come back and think about how you might answer that question. Or I just think these are just some of the skills that we've overlooked over time because we just get so busy, basically.
I think, we know as business owners, the idea is that we're working on our business, not in our business all the time. But I think because of the economic conditions that so many hospitality businesses are operating in, owners are very much in their businesses a lot of the time. Perhaps they're not even paying themselves. I've heard that a lot recently. I feel like to have someone like yourself come in and just offer a bit of perspective, a bit of empathetic outsider strategy and calm must be so useful.
I think it's making owners just see things a little bit differently. It's a conversation, I think, that needs to happen. And again, I think it comes down to just, how hospitality is changing. It's a changing landscape. And again, focusing on taking care of our people. I mean, a big part of this then falls into staff retention. When we're able to take care of our people and keep good people, they breed good people follow them. And then we have, such a beautiful work environment where customers also come in I think there's nothing nicer when a customer can come in and recognise a staff member and just have a really strong workforce that's kind of working together for the same common goal.
So what do you think about just hospitality's reputation and I suppose nurturing local staff or, creating those pathways? Do you think that there's what do you think people don't know about hospitality? What are some of the messages that you'd love to see out there about the industry?
I think there's probably two parts. I guess one part is probably what the customers don't realise about what's happening in industry, what goes on behind the scenes simply just to open the doors, especially for those smaller operators. That don't sit under the bigger group umbrellas. They don't have that extra support from other business revenue. And I guess understanding, I know we all know about rising rents. We all talk about increasing supplier costs and the challenges and the sheer amount of planning and prep and I guess compliance involved and just for some venues to break even. So I guess there's that element. And then I guess what people don't know is about people that this is, I don't know. And again, I don't want to speak for kind of just putting a blanket over Australia, but this is such a big career of choice for so many of us. We love this industry because, it's the characters, it's the connection, it's what brings people together, it's the conversations. It's the constant innovation, which surprises me all the time. I mean, COVID plays such a big part to that and how everybody came out and was, thinking so differently. And then of course, it's about the food. So, yeah.
I mean, even if we look at your career, Hayley, you've done so many different things in so many different places. Like, I think perhaps people don't understand all the different aspects and opportunities there are in hospitality, and that it's always changing. It's so dynamic.
It is, and I guess yes, and Papua New Guinea, I guess, is one of those on whenever I ever speak about it, is one of those that always probably, I guess, promotes the biggest questions. I mean, I moved there, my partner's in hospitality, and we initially moved for his role, and then I was approached by this incredible person who asked me to use my skills in hospo to kind of lean into supporting a cancer foundation in PNG. And I think, yeah, those opportunities can come up when you are in hospitality. I think, as well, we're personalities. I think we're open and again, building connections. So that was something that I just feel so lucky to have been a part of, and travel PNG. And then, of course, meeting people there and discovering a whole nother element to food, because that again is, I'm really passionate about food. I'm a home cook, and yeah, just that whole culture piece of food there is so different. Like, they have different traditional dishes that I learn about, and different ways to cook, and that really kind of shaped another part of my perspective and purpose, I guess, in the industry.
So just to be clear, you were open-minded about an opportunity that wasn't necessarily hospitality related, but gave you all these other strings to your bow, and you learnt all this and travelled and had those other experiences. Look, I haven't been to PNG, and it's so close. I feel like I should have, but tell us more about the food there, and maybe even a dish that you learnt to cook. Yeah,
so PNG, there's traditional dishes. I mean, sago features a lot in sweet and savoury. Kangkong is like, I guess it's a water spinach. This one I just became absolutely obsessed with. They cook it in just a really coconut cream and just with some carrots, and I don't know, for some reason it just, everything about it just tastes delicious. I got to watch traditional the cooking of a mumu, and I ate dried shark meat and markets. But I think Papua New Guinea has the most incredible soil. I think, unfortunately, just with the way the country's set up, the produce just isn't shared. But fresh herbs and vibrant local produce, the flavors are light, they're simple, and yeah, I guess I got to, some beautiful people that I worked with. We decided in the office at the Cancer Foundation to create something called Friday Lunch Society, where we all brought different dishes, and I think at lunch on Friday, just for all of us to kind of come together and discuss food, just as a separate, because obviously working in that part that we were working, had its moments of being quite heavy on the heart. So this was just bringing a little bit of lightness to the office, and yeah, it just was amazing. I actually brought a really dear friend of mine in PNG a bottle of truffle oil, and he started putting it on everything and told me that the aroma had drifted it through the village as he cooked it on the open fire. And everyone just came out asking what on earth smelled so good, I guess. So, yeah.
That's so interesting. I guess there's so many ways food can bring people together and spark curiosity and connection. So two things I want to touch on. I need you to explain what a muumuu is, and the other one is I'd love you to talk about how some of those experiences has helped you feed back into your work in the Australian hospitality industry.
Yeah, so a muumuu, I've got, again, I it's been a while, but yeah, obviously, it's the traditional way to cook food in the ground. So warming the hot coals, and then wrapping food in leaves and leaving it and burying it under the ground to cook for long periods of time. And that could be meat or fish. And again, not using any crazy ingredients here, just very, very light herbs and local herbs and coconut milk again, and just carrots and things. I wish I could attempt to do this here, but obviously, it's just traditional methods, which I think are really, really hard to replicate, but end up giving you a dish that's just smoky and full of flavour, and and whatever meat or fish it is just left so tender. And then I guess the second part to that question is, I guess I just think it was such a formative experience, humbling, and just being part of community outreach and seeing how day-to-day challenges are out there, and coming back and just realising how lucky we are here, I guess, and making me just think that, even in the hardest times, we're just really lucky and fortunate for all the opportunities that we have here.
Interesting. So, Hayley, flipping back to some of your consulting work, I feel like systems, processes, strategies must be something you're pretty big on. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so I guess what I look into is just probably starting with some of like the pain points a lot for some of the venues, and then how we can connect the dots to put some process in place to make those things a little bit easier. And that can come from a few things. I think one of those is kind of like the recruitment retention piece. So, I read this awesome book on how to recruit and keep great people. I can't remember the author now, but I have put it on my socials. But that piece is really important. I think looking at that a little bit differently, which is, how we speak about our venues to start with, the initial conversation that you have when you're onboarding someone, because I think it needs to be a mutual beneficial chat, just as much as you're interviewing them, I think it's vice versa, and then how you go into onboarding that person. And I think a strategy around then saying, okay, well, you're now working with us, how do we retain them? It's not just bringing them on, putting them in a job, teaching them how to carry food. I think there's the development piece there about what are their goals, where do they see themselves? Do we want them on the floor just waiting food for a year? Do they want to be a leader? Do they want to be part of then a buddy up system in order for them to have the next new person under their wing? So that's a really interesting piece. That's been a big part of my recent conversation, I guess. And then strategy around development and training. Again, I guess, really people focused, looking at your middle managers and potentially where they want to be, holding on to them. I mean, you've got the larger groups that obviously, there's a lot of great groups out there that are able to grow because they have the financial backing and revenue in industry right now. And there's people that discuss wanting to move in from venue management to group roles. And then what does that look like? So I look at, where they could fit across there. I guess there's so many touch points. Yeah,
it's a lot. I feel like it all starts... your job and my job as a restaurant critic start at the same point. What is the clarity of vision? What is the business trying to do? Who are they trying to be? And then it all flows from there.
Exactly right. And I think they're just such great conversations to have, because I guess, like you said, a lot of owners are so in it in the moment that they don't even have a time to step out and reflect on where do they want to be? I mean, do they want to be in their business full time? And if they don't, and if they want to take a bit of time out, are we succession planning enough and strengthening the team underneath them enough in order for them to be where they want to be? Because that's important too. These are the people that also need support, because they're the ones that carry a lot of the strain for keeping the doors open for the rest of us to be able to have jobs.
Yeah, that is such a good point. Hayley, what do you often see businesses doing wrong?
I think just making time to understand. I'm always, coming back to the people piece. I think 6 months can go by really quickly in our industry, and then I think we maybe haven't checked in with our management team. I think we potentially believe that because we've put them in this role that they're always just going to be strong enough and capable enough. But I think, again, it's there's a lot of pressure, and just making that time. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of like the appraisal process, I have to be honest. I think it's overly formalized. I just think it's had its time. I just think regular check-ins are important, and that can just be as simple as every couple of weeks, just getting on for 10 minutes. How are you going? You know, how are you just going in general? And how has your week been? Let's have a bit of reflection. And how can we support you so that you don't feel the pressure of some of those challenges moving forward? I think, that doesn't always need to come from the owners. I know they're busy, but they've also got people in those roles to make sure that they're looking out for others. And I think it's that. I think it's just the regular piece of just saying what's working well, what isn't, and what can we do to support and change that and progress for, a positive path.
I think hospitality businesses, by their nature, they are so much driven by momentum, the momentum of service, the urgency of getting the food out, looking after customers, all of that stuff. But I think it must be so valuable for people to have this alternative rhythm put in front of them, just even if it runs parallel, that there is just these moments to step out of the urgency and reflect. Yeah,
I think we're reactive by nature, and I think, a lot of that just comes from, again, like just the way we work in busy service. So I think it's just thinking about things a little bit differently and putting those conversations forward. I don't think things are just going to change overnight. I never go in with any venue holding that expectation. It's a process, and it's but it's opening the conversation, and I think that's a really good place to start.
One of the things that causes business owners quite a lot of anguish these days is Google reviews. I feel like this must, when people come to you with their problems, that this must be one of them. What's your view on that, and what strategies do you have?
That's such a good one, and I don't mean to laugh, but I just think, my goodness, Dani, this one is so crazy, isn't it? I mean, we have the Google reviewers who speak like they've been restaurant critics for like 50 years. We have ones, that, obviously venues get great ones. This comes up really often. I think there's two parts, does the venue get online and start replying? And once they start, where do you take that? I think you have to have a strategy. I think if you're going to reply to good reviews, I think you reply to all, but I think you have to be mindful that you are going to open up some difficult conversations. I think that restaurants have to be really mindful about how much they take in. I have to be honest. I don't think you can work and scour through every single review, because I think you could probably fall apart, because I think that there's people that, they have expectations. I understand they're paying to come into a service. I really appreciate that. And I know that we don't always get it right. And I appreciate that too. I think you just got to be mindful how you approach it. I think with some of the negative reviews that people receive, I think it's really actually helpful to reach out directly. I know a few incredible business owners that just get on the phone. There's one that always amazes me in Melbourne. He'll know who he is talking about this, but he just gets on the phone and he's like, what happened here? How can we make this better? And, can you come back? And I think, look, again, depending on the nature of your business, depending on how much time you have, we're also time poor, to do that. But I think some of it is just be mindful to not take it all in, and just be mindful of what you digest from that. That's all. I
mean, it goes back to that resilience, doesn't it? Because, I've heard from people, they get that ding or whatever, the notification that there's a new Google review, and they're just instantly on high alert, in almost, panic mode. Their thoughts are swirling in their mind. What's it going to be? And I think it's about perspective, it's about resilience, it's about, what kind of feedback do you take on. But I think it also, and maybe this sounds strange coming from a restaurant critic, but I try to always bring perspective to the way that I write about restaurants, perspective and context, and also taking a place on its own terms. But anyway, that aside, like, I think it comes back to that whole idea of, you know, the place that hospitality has in our society, where it feels like there is that lack of understanding of, you know, the complicated machine that is a restaurant in some critical reviews, that it's so much. I mean, something else that I always do as a critic is you try to see through the particular to the general. So sure, like someone spills the soup or whatever, but are they always spilling the soup? It's like, you know, I had to wait 45 minutes for my meal, but is everyone on every day? You know, you've just got to see past those standout incidents to what a place is normally like, and also how they deal with things that go wrong is often more telling than the mistake in the first place. I just think the more people understand about hospitality as an industry and have that empathy for it, the less likely they are to, you know, get on their high horse and write an overly critical review.
That's so true. And I think you're right. Like, it's all in the recovery as well, isn't it? And I think people forget, like, they're coming into the environment to have a good time, and we're there to provide that. I think the intention is always there. Like, it's always heartfelt. It's always positive. You know, we do this and we serve people, and that's what we love to do. And I think the intention is always there. And I hope that part sometimes, as you said, can absolutely get lost. And then it's in the recovery. And I think, as you said, like when you're sitting in a venue and you're waiting for food, have a look around. I mean, you're probably in a venue that is pumping and the kitchen are under pressure. And we understand. I know that we're there to provide and deliver, and people are paying. I understand all of those things, but also, like, just order another drink, you know, and just enjoy the experience, because you're actually watching the mechanics of a business like unfolding around you. Like, you're almost getting like a front row seat in the inside, right? Like, we don't get to walk in people's offices and sit there and watch what they're doing on their day to day and be like, oh my God, like this is wild. So I think again, different perspective, and you're right. I guess it's a challenging one, I think. And again, you're right, it comes back to the resilience piece. I think you have to be really careful what you internalize, because the next day is a new day all over again, basically.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I also do understand when customers, you know, people are watching their money, that maybe they don't go out for dinner much. You know, it's almost like they've invested in this experience. They put a lot of emotion into it as well. And there is sometimes this crushing disappointment. It didn't work out like you wanted it to. But of course, I think it's all about perspective. And, you know, as you say, Hayley, you know, you've spent time, you know, working with cancer, working in PNG, you know, there is a lot that we have to be grateful for simply to, you know, be sitting in a restaurant in the first place. So let's finish with, I would just love to ask you, what drives you? Like, what do you love about what you do?
What do I love? I mean, I love food. I'm really passionate about food. You know, as I said, like I'm an avid home cook. So that I love food. I love working with chefs. I love speaking to chefs. I find that I just love those conversations. I always interested to know like why they've come into industry. Well, I love so many things. As I said, I love the characters the hospitality brings. I love the connection. I think I love just the connection of food in general, and whether that's being around a table at home and me being the host, or, you know, being in venues and being around people. I love the stories it brings. I love the background of, like I said, where people have come from all different countries, you know, especially my early time in London. I think just a melting pot of people and food and their experiences, and great conversations. And as I said before, I think that constant tenacity and innovation in our industry, and I guess it's the people and the passion. So many people in this industry have the passion, and your beautiful podcast is testament to that, to the people that come on and just talk from the heart. They care so much. They just care so much.
Yeah, I feel it every day. Well, thanks for being one of those people, Hayley. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks for doing what you do, and let's stay in touch.
Dani, thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking to you, and I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Hayley. This is Dirty Linen, and I'm Dani Valent. We air the issues that the hospitality industry finds hard to talk about, hearing from different people with unique perspectives. We want to hear from you as well. If you have something that needs to be said about a topic, get in touch so we can include your perspective. Contact us at dirtylinen@deepintheweeds.com.au or hit us up on Insta at Dirty Linen Podcast. We can't wait to hear from you.
This